All right, let's get started. Let's get started. Let's get started. What would I like to do, Jim Higgins? Get started. That's what I'd like to do. Buddy, are you coming in or are you coming out? Buddy had a bath today, Sandy, so a
Oh,
really
great.
good
Yeah.
bath. Yeah.
You must have
So
brought him to work then.
I did, but so he needed to have a bath to come to work. He was really dirty and stinky, but he's happy now, getting lots of treats. Hi, everyone. My name is Phil DJ Right Click Valentine. DJ because of my excellent taste in music. Right Click because that was my Appalachian Trail through hiking name. And Valentine because it's a magnificent, glorious English surname that I happen to be given. And I don't know if I believe all that about Valentine, but I said it anyway. Khalees, I'm sorry. Am I like making you wince already? And yes, I am on. I had a little mud water this morning. Yes, a mushroom blend. Madge was a little horrified about that. Also had a little athletic greens where so Michael was talking to me about having my shrooms and grass this morning. So it's not what you think, even though I might be wearing this shirt of psychedelic mushrooms, it's not exactly what you think, right? So good to see everybody. Um, I am a person in recovery. I've been in recovery since December 28th, 1987. So coming up here in a couple months, it'll be 36 years. I've been at CCAR for nearly 25 years. That'll be in January, about 21 of those as executive director. And here today, we're doing a thing called coaching for coaches. And I pick a topic and we discuss it. Hopefully, my purpose is, and also open to any questions you may have about anything you want to run by me anytime, or by this group. But I'm really on a journey of self-awareness. I believe that my recovery is a journey towards self-awareness. So every once in a while, I come across a word, it's usually a word, I go, what do we really mean by that word? And we've had those discussions as well. We've talked about other topics and how it all applies to our art of recovery coaching, our science, because I believe the best recovery coaches are the most self-aware recovery coaches, because that way they're aware of their own stuff and they have a better chance of managing it, right, and getting outside of it. And so that's kind of the purpose of all this. So I'd like some of you, it doesn't have to be everybody, but some of you who would like to, I'm going to ask you this. Introduce yourself, where you're from, where you're calling from, or where you're on this Zoom call from, and tell us how you are. How are you? Who would like to go? Oh, maybe I should go because I can model that. And people always ask me, how are you? And some of them knows that I will say, usually well enough. And I always say that as a tribute and a reminder to my good friend, brother, colleague who passed in 2021, Art Woodard, who had a big hand in the Recovery Coach Academy. And anytime we would do an in-person Recovery Coach Academy, we'd start each academy with a hug. How are you, Art? And he'd go, I am well enough, with a big smile. And that's such a warm way to respond. It just elicits all, it activates certain powerful feelings within me, Khalees. My feelings get activated, but they're all warm, fuzzy ones. So today I am well enough, and I'll get more into my little story about what happened over the last couple of weeks, because that'll apply to the topic. So how are you? Would you like to introduce yourself and tell us how you are? Khalees.
I'll go. My name is Khalees. I'm a recovery coach professional and facilitator, and I'm in England, Lincolnshire, and I am I don't want to say the same things. Like Phil, like we've got these. I am gonna say I am good. Great. I'm gonna say I am doing great. Yep, that's it. Period. Done. It's nice to see some of the ride care people here too. Hey guys.
Oh yeah. You know, I could always push back on what do you mean by good? What do you mean by great? But I'm gonna leave you alone for right now. Laura, how are you? Good to see you.
Oh, it's great to see you too, and all of you. I am peaceful and curious. That's how I am. Curious to know what our topic's going to be today, and just generally curious about life, because I'm still, working through it. I am calling from Brunswick, Georgia, which is otherwise known as the Golden Isles.
It is? See what I learned already today? The Golden Isles. Ooh, I didn't
Yes.
know that.
Yeah. Not named for the beaches, but
Okay.
for the yellow gold grass that is the marsh.
Beautiful. Hey, Nate, how you doing, buddy?
I'm all right, Phil. How you?
Look at you. You're like your name on the screen is like the iPhone Nader, like the Terminator. You're the iPhone Nader.
Yeah. Good morning.
Good morning.
Morning. I am stupendous. I thought about that with all the great things that's happened for me over the last 2 years, from coming back from paralysis and COVID and all that stuff. Man, I am better than well. I'm better than great. So
I like that, better than well.
Yeah. So yeah.
Thanks, Nate.
Glad to be here this morning.
How are you? Jimmy, how are you?
Hello there. I'm Jim Higgins. I'm from the metropolis of South Windsor, Connecticut. Probably has more cows than people. And I am improving today. I had a conference yesterday. I showed up to it and got out of the car and I just couldn't even walk. I felt so sick, so I came home and slept all day and feel better. But I took everything off my docket and I saw that this was on. I've never been to one of these. I have this and a Zoom call later with one Michelle Simons, who's also on this call. So so this is my self-care coming here for an hour and a half today. So I am improving myself.
Thank you, Jim. Good to see you. Michelle.
Only because Jim shared, I'm going to share. No, I'm good. I'm Michelle Simons from Lynn, Massachusetts. And Phil, glad to see you're alive and well. And
me too.
Yeah, no kidding. And yeah, my baseline is always good, but I'm a little shaken up from a phone call I got this morning about one of the coaches that I work with. So aside from that, managing my stuff.
Very good. Kurt.
I'm Kurt, person in long-term recovery, calling in from Holland. And today I feel hopeful, motivated, a little bit disconnected, but definitely well enough.
Thank you, Kurt. Glad to have you from Holland. Johnny, how are you?
Hi, I'm good. I'm well. I'm well enough. I like that. I'm in Beaconsfield, which is just outside London in the UK, and I'm in recovery. I've just finished the Recovery Coach Academy course, and so on the process of hopefully gaining the full professional certificate at some point. And enjoying it very much. And right today I'm in the middle of doing my tax return, so this is a very welcome diversion. So
okay,
things considered, I'm doing pretty well today. Thank you.
Thank you, Johnny. Welcome. Good to see you. Who else? Ed.
Good morning, everyone. So happy to be here this morning. Thanks, Phil. How am I today? Today, today I'm feeling that I am more than enough to get through this day and take care of the day and things that I have to do. So thank you.
Thank you. Dominic.
Good morning, Phil. I figured I'd raise my hand. So
Mm-hmm.
I am feeling well, I'm Dominic for those that don't know me. I'm Dominic. I work here for CCAR with the training team. I'm feeling pretty good today. My whole household got the plague for like 3 weeks.
The
and
plague.
they got the plague for like 3 weeks, and I was built with the 1980s immune system. So I did not get the plague. So I'm feeling pretty good about life right now. I'm glad that I'm not sick, though it was a struggle to take care of everyone else, but I am thankful that I had the opportunity to do so.
Thank you. Sandy, how are you?
Shoot. Good morning. I'm Sandy Valentine, and I am in Providence, Rhode Island. And I am aflutter with many emotions today. So one of them is accomplishment, because I wrote a mini grant in the first hour and a half of the day and got that off because the deadline was at 5 o'clock.
Mm-hmm.
But I had to pop into a coaching for coaches meeting to see my husband, since we're living in 2 different cities during the week. And just there's a lot going on. There's a lot going on.
Mm-hmm.
Trying to make a difference.
Thank you, Sandy. Michael, how are you today?
I am grateful. I was thinking, somebody asked me the other day, like, and the person that asked me, he's in contemplation, right? Because he asked me, he goes, "What has recovery given you?" And I was like, "Oh man, you got time?" Because it's a long list, man.
Mm-hmm.
So today I'm grateful. I'm just grateful. I got I get to live another day, and I get to do some stuff that I love doing, and that's coaching, and it's connecting with people. Like, who would have known?
Mm-hmm.
A few years ago, I would have been here doing this right now with you all, and everybody's from different states and stuff, and I get to, and even different countries, right?
Mm-hmm.
Where we get to do this, and that's what recovery is given to me, and I'm grateful. I'm grateful for it. Oh, by the way, I'm Michael Serrano, and I'm in Connecticut.
Mm-hmm. Thank you, Michael. Carver, you want to say hello? I always like seeing you. Love seeing you.
I love seeing you. I'm Carver Brown. I'm also from a foreign country called Mississippi. And I got my little buddy CJ is here to say hello to everybody. Say hey to CJ. He's a little rescue. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm reflective. Phil, when I popped on, you were talking about art, and I was just thinking about art, and just the little bit of time I got to spend with you too, and just what a classy individual he was, and getting to sit with him. So I'm very reflective today. You got me in a mood. So
okay. Thank you, Carver. I just someone you train, I don't know the name, but Stacy was working on them up in Canada, speaks incredibly highly of you, and as we're bringing the RCA to Edmonton, Alberta, and they want to run recovery coaching out in all the provinces in Canada, all because of the way you trained one individual. So thank you for that. Testament to your skill and knowledge of the concept. Anybody else want to say how they're doing? Yvonne does. Hello, Yvonne.
Hi, Phil. Good morning, everybody. My name is Yvonne Gooden, and I'm in Carroll Square. All right, 34th Street, right across the street from Macy's. All right.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm going to say, how am I today? Optimistic.
Oh, good. Like that very much. So anybody else going once? Anybody else want to say hello and how are you? Not required, just giving people the opportunity. So we teach best what we most need to learn. And I think Sandy and Khalees might have heard a little bit of this one, but like back on what is it? Today is the 25th. 9 days ago, I called my wife Sandy and said, "Could you take me to the emergency room?" I was having intense stomach distress, and I was in a lot of pain. A couple doses of morphine, and you're like, "Oh, this is a freebie. I'm gonna get some morphine." It wasn't a freebie. It just like cut this pain so I could like almost breathe. They gave me a little anti-nausea. They stuck a tube down up my nose and down into my stomach to suck the pressure out. Turned out I had a bowel obstruction and ended up in the hospital for 5 days. Didn't eat food for 6 days. Prognosis is most excellent. Everything is cleared up. I feel dropped a few pounds, feel strong. Back resuming my mini yoga practice in the morning. Eating carefully, not going crazy. All the stuff you're supposed to eat, like all that good roughage and raw vegetables, you can't eat now because that's the stuff that might have blocked it up on all that. So the reason I tell you all that is because I'm pretty public, or I wouldn't say I'm not private about my life, and that has to do with on social media, right? In 2008, when I opened a Facebook account, so much of my life and so much about my career at CCAR has been about putting a face on recovery, right? We wanted to put a positive face on recovery. And I decided in 2008 that I would chronicle, journey, post what one person's life in recovery is like. What is one man's life in recovery like? And it's not just, it's the good, the bad, the ugly, the stressful, everything, whether it's things that have happened, life's milestones, illness, disease, through hikes, death, everything. That this is the way one man in recovery copes with it. So I posted a picture, I think Sandy took the picture or something of me in the hospital bed. And, I started to get lots of messages, messengers, text messages, and they all were very similar. They said, "I hope you're okay. Is there anything I can do? Are you okay?" And my question, and I responded with what was going on to a lot of the people, but I sent Khalees one question because she sent me something too. She says, "Oh my gosh, are you okay?" And I said to her, "What do you mean by okay?" And so she didn't respond right away. So I knew she was like, "Oh man, that's a question she's going to like think about that for a while." And sure enough, like 6-7 hours later, I've been thinking about that all day. How many of you have ever said, "I'm okay"? How many have ever said that? How many have ever said, heard that said when you ask, "How are you?" They say, "I'm okay." This is the question to start off with. What do you mean by okay? Michelle.
I'm going right in.
Go right in. I love it.
No, but like I said when I introduced myself right now, like no matter what happens, like chaos can be surrounding me, physical, mental, spiritual, whatever it is, right? But I'm always okay, unless like my head's severed, then I'm probably, maybe I will. But there's stuff going on, but I think managing my own stuff means I'm okay. Like, it's stuff. It's not, pulling the rug out from under me. And I don't know that anything actually could, right? With
okay.
God. Yeah.
Kurt, what do you mean by okay?
I think if I ask someone, are you okay? I think what I'm looking for is, do you need anything right now? Otherwise, I'd probably be asking, how are you? So if I say I'm okay, I mean, at this moment, there's nothing I really need.
Okay. Okay. Sounds good. Khalees.
I'm just gonna share kind of like what I had said to you, Phil. And like Phil said, I thought about this all day long. I was actually like painting my walls because I'm redoing my room, and I was sitting there thinking. And I remember whenever my grandpa was in the hospital, and people would be like, "Oh, is he okay? Is he okay?" And my guy used to always be like, "If I can't walk the dog and eat a nice meal and do the things I love, then I don't want to be here." Like, like that, then that's not. And so to him, like living a life and being like meaningful and having a sense of purpose and belonging, that was what he thought life was like. So for me, I would want him to be alive, and I wanted him to be okay, I guess. But that's not what he wanted. So whenever I really thought about it, I was like, I don't know what that means to you to be okay in general. Like everybody could have a unique perspective on what okay means to them. So then I just ended up messaging Phil and telling him that and being like, so I just hope you are well enough to do the things you like to do in life. That's what I hope. Like, and that's kind of all I could come up with.
Thank you. Beautiful. Ed.
Hey, everyone. Wow. Phil, you started the conversation with the importance of being self-aware of ourselves and growing in that self-awareness.
Correct.
This whole past week, I have become a little more self-aware of myself and the word okay. Because I always thought I was okay, and I am now beginning to understand that that word is not an okay word for me.
Explain that a little bit.
I'll be happy to, Phil.
Okay.
Being a person in long-term recovery, okay was my ability to lie without people questioning my lie.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh.
So when someone asks how I am, my desire not to have to reveal my feelings, etc., I say, I'm okay. And when I came into recovery, the biggest lie that I held on to was, I'm okay. So today, I will avoid that word. And I will say, I am more than enough. I'm ready for the day. I feel okay. I almost said okay. I feel well enough. I am feeling grateful. I'm feeling anything, but I try to avoid the word okay, because okay tells me I don't have to reveal exactly what's going on with me.
Thank you, Ed. Powerful. Nate.
Oh yeah, I when I introduced myself, I didn't say I was from Indianapolis. And I'm a person in long-term recovery, so I wanted to make sure I got that in there. And you know, my take on it is, I tell people all the time. They say, "Nate, how are you?" I say, "Well, when I see the light, I'm great," because I didn't see the light was on, but I didn't see it for a lot of years, not months, but years. And so when I see the light, I got a chance at doing whatever life shows, whatever in life shows at my door. So I'm great.
Cool. Kurt.
Can I come in again very shortly?
Sure, of course.
I really loved what Ed said about the use of the word okay. It resonates with me a lot because I've had that myself, and with my sponsees and clients, if I ask how are you doing, and the answer is good, and that's it. Then I also ask, what does that mean? Can you try using some other words? And if I'm not careful, I get distracted if they tell me about the events of the day, which they use as a reasoning for why they feel good, but they don't expand on the feeling of good. What does it feel like? Or it's a really good thing to explore. Yeah, and also helps, like Ed said, helps to be honest with ourselves and others. Absolutely.
Thank you, Kurt. Jim.
You know, I'm sitting here thinking about this very simple question and topic, and I usually say, "I'm okay. How are you?"
Right.
Which I'm thinking, what does that mean? And that probably means I don't want to talk about it.
It's a deflection.
It's a deflection, isn't it?
Yeah.
So thank you for that thought.
All right, cool. Madge.
Yeah, that's the same thing for me. If I say I'm okay, I just want to get to the next question. Like I'm really not trying to, ponder on how I really feel. And that's because that's how I've been a lot of my life.
Mm-hmm.
And I realized that, self-care means to really talk about how you feel and what you want in life and how you're doing, when you ask the question today, I am always happy to be in recovery. But what that means to me is a whole lot of things. And I just realized that I haven't been taking care of myself. I've been doing my recovery in different ways and stuff like that, but I'm really not taking care of myself physically and mentally. And so now I've started to do that. I've lost weight. I go to the doctors. I talk to people. And when somebody really asks me how I am, I say, do you have time? So that's how I feel.
Thank you, Madge. Kevin, good to see you.
And good to see you, Phil. The last two individuals that spoke, I agree with that. Usually if somebody say, how you doing? I'm okay. That's just filling a blank space. I'm okay at times or in my moments when I'm in acceptance of what's going on. But there's a lot of times I'm walking, coming into work, or I look at the news and I hear something, and that which is on the external, I'm not okay with. And that okay in that disagreement with what I'm seeing, whether it's one of the peers or recoveries I'm working with, or I come to work and I see the homeless on the sidewalk and the mental health kicking in and all the different things that I see, and I'm not okay with that, and how these people have become very invisible to much of our society. We have come so acceptance with that. And when I can't help, sometimes I'm not okay. And I can tell when I'm not okay at the end of the day, because sometimes when I'm not okay, I lose sleep.
Oh.
But there's moments of being okay. There's moments in my recovery when my recovery in my heart is in the garbage, in my heart. You know what I mean? There's times in my recovery where there's those moments where I want to blow it. I want to, I'm tripping myself up because I am not okay. But I've learned in recovery how to use tools to put me in a safe place. So there's a lot of times I'm in a safe place in recovery, but there's times in my recovery that I'm really, really not okay. I'm safe in recovery, and I've learned to develop that skill of being safe and understanding. But on the external, like I said, on the external, there's a lot of things that are not okay, and that ripple effect kind of has a pushback on me. Like I said, when I see homeless people, and the things that I see, I'm not okay with that. And I think because sometimes I can't help, it affects me, and it does affect my recovery, But like I said, if you ask me tomorrow, hey, Kevin, how you doing? Everything okay? I'm going to say okay. But that's just sometimes filling the blank spaces. Thank you.
Thank you, Kevin. For those of you who just joined us, Rita, Athena, good to see you guys. We're talking about the concept of being okay. Sound familiar, Rita? And what does okay mean to you? Khalees.
I like the I like the concept of kind of looking at what not okay looks like too, because if I know what not okay looks like, then I can kind of gain a better understanding of what okay might mean for me too. And since I started my recovery journey, I've always said like this quote, like, God only gives me what I can handle. And like, that's like my, okay, I'm going to get through this. You know, this is no matter what, I'm going to get through this. And then reflecting on my experience, like times where I'm like, I mean, you know, I see a coach and I remember being like, I am not okay. Like those were my words, like, I am not okay. And it was just like my heart, like after losing my best friend, like my heart, like the internal pain and like grief I was experiencing was just abnormal that I'd never experienced before. So I said, I am not okay. Like those were the words I used, where I was just like internal pain within my heart. And so whenever, you know, he was talking about like his recovery in his heart, I was like, I can really relate to that. Like the way I feel internally is whenever I'm not okay, whenever there's just that. But yeah.
Rita, you had your hand raised. I'm not going to let you put it down that easily.
Hi everybody, my name is Rita. I'm grateful to be here today. Thank you. It's so good to see Phil. For me, I'm a little weird, but okay or not okay is all about my emotional status, to be honest with you. I'm just so I guess when I'm okay means, emotionally I'm managing, doesn't mean I'm at the top of my game, but not okay definitely means emotionally I got some anxiety or fears or insecurities going on that I'm not managing well. That's all I wanted to add. Thanks, Phil.
Thank you. Any other thoughts about what it means to be okay from anybody else? How do you think about being okay? What does that mean to you? Thank you, Dominic.
I guess I'll add something. So for me, I don't normally use okay. So okay kind of carries like the same value as like I'm fine, and anybody in recovery, the old acronym I'm fine, but we all know I'm not, right? So I don't know, okay kind of carries like the same thing. Usually if somebody asks me how I'm doing, if I say that I'm good or something like that, I'm usually good. But like if I say I'm okay, it kind of carries the same weight as like I'm probably not okay. Right? So like for me, I think okay has like its value is kind of like, and it's also kind of like a move along, like, how you doing? I'm good. I'm okay. And it's kind of like pushing or deflecting what's actually really going on, I think, anyway, for me. That's all I got, Phil.
Thank you, Dominic. You had me thinking about some stuff. Anybody else about what you're thinking about? Okay, Laura.
See, I really liked what Ed said earlier and resonate with all of that. And I was really thinking about, how people ask, how you doing? How are you? And I really think that most people, when they ask that question, aren't really hoping that somebody's going to honestly, truthfully, fully answer that question. And so I like to stir the pot a little bit for good reasons, And so I said, well, like somebody else said, well, how much time do you have? Well, let me tell you about what happened this morning and what's going on with my partner or what's going on, and it's like, and then you can see on their faces, well, I didn't sign up for any of this. Yeah, you did. You asked me a question. Unless you want me to say, okay, which tells you nothing. There's no description. There's no feeling. There's no nothing, unless you say it with a certain tone of voice. So that was kind of thought that was going through my head.
Yeah, thank you. Any other thoughts about okay? So as I was preparing, like thinking about this and thinking about the concept of okay and the backstory, I'm in severe pain, abdominal obstruction, moaning and groaning. Sandy would probably say I wasn't okay, but I knew I was okay. Because I have kind of the same take that Michelle has, that because of my faith in God, my faith in a higher power, my faith allows me to be okay in all situations. The way I define okay, I'm okay. Well, I'm in pain. That doesn't, but it's just who I am in that present moment. It's like acceptance, right? This is where I am. Acceptance and being okay are very closely related. So I'm always okay. If I believe the best is yet to come, even after death, and I'm on my deathbed, I'm still okay. Other people might not think I am, but I'm okay as far as I'm concerned. So I always feel that way. I might be like Rita, you were talking about emotional distress. It doesn't always feel good, but deep down, I might be experiencing that, but I still know I'm all right. I'm okay. This too shall pass. It's all going to work out. I'm okay. Um, so, and we teach best what we most need to learn, or talk about what we most need to learn. So I'm still working all this out. That's kind of where I've landed to right now. But the next question, probably many of you will guess what the next question is going to be, is how does this concept of being okay tie into recovery coaching? Sandy.
Sorry, I'm new to that unmuting task. I think that for me, that is a recovery testing your interest. If you take it, oh, good, I'm glad you're okay. And don't ask those open-ended questions. They're gauging how much time you have. They're gauging whether you're sincere in asking, or if it's more in terms of a greeting.
Gotcha. Thank you. Khalees.
I was just literally thinking, like, I've had this happen where I've asked, how are you? And they're like, I'm okay. And I'm like, my immediate response was, what does that mean? So I'm like, what does that mean? Because I just get curious. And I think sometimes whenever we're working with people, maybe they don't know how to express what's going on for them. So that's an opportunity for me to, like, what does that look like? Tell me more, and really dive in and get curious, because they might not know how to talk about it. They might have some feelings around disclosing what's going on. There could be all sorts of things there, but it's also my role as a coach. That's where I ask, that's the quest for the question, to get curious. That's my opportunity to get curious, to build that rapport and dive in. And yeah, because I feel like okay is very brief, and like many of us have said, like sometimes we say that just to get past the conversation or go to the next question, where it's an opportunity to explore.
Thank you. Somebody else. Kevin?
I always seem like I got something to say. Y'all teach me a lot in this Coaches for Coaches. Y'all teach me a lot. I think when it comes to coaching, and I've learned this phrase just recently since Sandy came here, and it's you're in recovery when you say you're in recovery.
Mm-hmm.
And when I can get there with the individuals that I'm coaching or inspiring or trying to help them with something, when I can accept where they're at, then the coaching becomes a little bit more energetic in me. And to be able to accept that there's multiple pathways, and to be able to accept the fact that it's not my recovery. And for me to be okay with what someone else is doing and accomplishing in their recovery. If they have that day that they come in and say, hey, man, or hey, Kevin, or however they address it, and say, this is what happened. I don't like to use the word relapse, but for the purpose of this coaching for coaches, I'm going to use the word relapse. And I can say, okay, so what now? What? When I can get there and still put that work in and be able to continuously coach without being judgmental, without being sarcastic, or without thinking that because I got the coaches for coaches and I am doing this work, that I got all the answers. You know, and I think that really helps with the recovery process, just not with the peers, but with myself, and being able to accept another person's recovery the way it is, not try to tailor it to my way of coaching, you know, but to inspire them so that their life becomes manageable. So that's where I'm at with that.
Thank you, Kevin. Ed.
Thanks. Yeah, I think it's very important with recovery coaches and this whole idea of questionings. I mean, I am reminded time and time again in these sessions, the importance as a recovery coach to listen, and the importance of being able to ask good questions. And how many times do we ask an open-ended question like, how are you feeling? Only to get a very closed response to an open question. It's either I'm fine, I'm good, and that's it. And I think also the importance of this with recovery coaches, as far as I'm concerned, is also the fact and understanding that it's okay not to be okay. And to help people individual and work through their okay positions. So today I'm okay because I'm okay, not because I'm not okay. Thanks.
Okay. Did you just like devolve into a Monty Python skit or something? I don't know what that was. It was good. I kind of liked it. Michelle.
Okay. Yeah, so I started thinking about like the first thing you mentioned, Phil, was about knowing ourselves and you know, journey of self-discovery, which there's always more, you know, when it comes to working on ourselves and knowing ourselves. And the more I know myself, I feel like the more I know others, right? So we had a guy in our Recovery Coach Academy the other day, and there was like they, you know, a few people worked together in this particular class, and you know, some things were being said about the job that they work. And then I saw, you know, I just kind of looked at this guy and saw his face turn red. And then he just kind of got up and left the room for a few minutes and then came back. So at break, I was like, "Are you okay?" And he said, "Yeah." And I was like, "Okay," you know, and I let it ride. And then like a few minutes later, he came over and he said, "I'm not." And I said, "I kind of had a feeling." So because I know myself, and if I, you know, I put myself in his shoes, watched his sort of reaction, and he was trying to not react in that scenario and walked out of the room, I was like, okay, you know, I saw the red face because I can't hide my face. It turns red really easily. And so I know, you know, I know some of those like signs and symptoms of like somebody being, you know, emotionally wound up or something. So yeah, the more I know myself, the easier it is to sort of see it in others.
Gotcha. Thank you. Dominic.
It's so thought provoking. Who would have known just okay was so thought provoking?
I know.
So I'm thinking about like all the times coaching people. I think a lot of times people use okay as almost like a way to open the door to a conversation, right? Like I know when like talking to a recovery, you'd be like, "Hey, how's everything going?" They'd be like, "Oh, everything's doing great." You know, a lot of times they're all hyped up. I got this going on, I got that going on, and they're all excited. And like recovery is like, you know, really exciting. But when they do the whole, "Yeah, I'm okay," it's kind of like it's almost like a tell. Like I'm okay is like kind of like opening up that door. Okay, so you're okay. Tell me more about okay, right? Like what does okay mean? Because a lot of times I feel like that's like it's deflecting off of something that they need to talk about. They might not even know that, but for me personally, I've noticed in my own life and when coaching other people that okay is usually a tell to be like, yeah, maybe they're not okay. Like okay is might be like you know, because usually when somebody's doing very well, they want to tell you all about that. They want to explain like, oh, things are going great with the kids and they're going this and, you know, I'm going these meetings or I'm doing this or, you know, life is good. But when they say, yeah, I'm okay, it's usually, I feel for me, that's usually a sign to ask a good question and really like practice that. you know, the three-legged stool, and try to find out what does okay really mean to them, you know?
Thank you. Kurt.
You really made me think, Phil, the part where you said about I think you said on your deathbed, I'll still be okay.
Yeah.
Something like that.
Yeah.
And really made me think about feeling okay versus being okay. And if I look at my life, I would say the majority of my life, I haven't felt like I was okay as a person.
Huh.
And there are situations where I don't feel okay. Recently, I had a very ugly situation with a friend that didn't feel okay. But it actually made me feel more okay as a person because of the situation. I could reflect and could see how I've been growing. So the situation didn't feel okay, but as a person, I found myself more okay with myself. Yeah.
Isn't it funny how we use if we keep saying okay, it kind of like morphs and loses like, what are we talking about? It's just fascinating. Like, what do we mean by okay? You know, but I got you. Thank you for that, Kurt. Rita, how are you? You're muted.
Now that I've unmuted, I'm okay. I guess what I was thinking is, for me, why it's so important, or how it's connected to recovery coaching, is a couple of things. For one, it's great for me as a coach to recognize that my okay is very different than someone else's okay, and I think that's important. I think that's important in working with others. I think it's also important, if we use, MI, the framework that we use a lot in coaching, that I can help other people discern whether they're really okay, or, you know what I mean? Like that whole ability to help others have that journey of self-discovery and that awareness and that connection to self. Because, as you always say, and I agree, is the more self-aware I become, the more effective I become. And I think helping my recoveries learn those skills of self-discovery. So by asking some really good questions, using MI around them saying, okay, I think we can help teach them some of those skills of self-discovery. And I think that's really important as a recovery coach. That's all.
Cool. Athena. You're muted.
I gotta
There you
find
go.
it. Hi, everybody. Yeah, I'm glad you mentioned the three-legged stool. But I was thinking about okay and how I define that with me. I have COVID right now.
Ooh.
And I'm okay. Yeah, the bummer, the isolation sucks, but I'm okay, because I can sit in my own skin today. And that's really how I define okay for me. Like, because so many times, even in recovery, I couldn't be still in my own skin. Like, I was running to the mall, or I was running, just to be around people, or be here and be there. And today, like, I can really just sit in my own skin. And for me, that's when I know I'm okay. And how that would affect my coaching is, if I, part of me, man, I guess, I can't sit in my own skin. How can I be helpful to somebody else in that sense? So I don't know. I think that's, for many, many years in recovery, though, I just could not, although I was not using drugs and I was working a program, I still had a really hard time just being still within my own skin. So that's how I define it. That's all.
I like that. Thank you, Athena. Good to see you. Hope you feel
Thank
better
you.
soon.
Thanks.
Kevin.
Yeah, this is a ripple effect because what's his name? Dominique. I think his name is Dominique. He made a comment, and it kind of ripple effect from Dominique to Phil. And he said sometimes when people say they're okay, it's because, and I can't remember exactly what he said, it's a tell. That was the phrase he used. And when Phil had said, and he's laying in the hospital bed, And even in that condition, I'm okay because of my higher power, and I can accept the condition of that I'm in, that physical condition I'm in. Last year, just about this time last year, I had quadruple bypass in my heart. And I remember laying in the hospital bed and the tubes were running and everything. And my brother was at the foot of the bed and he was crying. And at that moment, and in the fear that I felt, I wasn't okay. I wasn't okay with the condition, and I wasn't okay with the higher power, because I felt that was the higher power shouldn't have put me or allowed me to be in there, because I wasn't recovering. I was doing all the right things. And when you do all the right things, these things shouldn't happen. And when Dominique said that, what is the tell? If a person says in recovery, you say, how you doing? And they say, I'm okay. What is the tell that they're not okay?
Yeah.
That was the question, because a lot of my recoveries do say, hey, I am okay. I'm okay today. And when he said that that's a tell, I'll start looking for the tell, because I take experience from other coaches and I look at how other people's techniques are in coaching. When I look at some of my guys or women that I'm coaching, I see some of my behaviors, and those are tells. But if a person says, I am okay, what is the tell that they're not? If they just say that, it don't have to be answered. I just want to know, that left a curiosity in my head. What would the tell be? Thank you.
Thank you, Kevin. Nate. We're just trying to get you unmuted, Nate. There you go. Oh, you had it.
Yeah, okay. So it's funny. Since I had my situation, I'm not gonna go through all of that, the gory details. This you might like this, Phil. People say, Nate, how you doing? My response, 90% of the time, unless it's in a professional setting, is cool in the game. And I use cool in the game because their song, I just want to celebrate. Celebration. That's it. So yeah, celebration. So that's it. Cool in the game, man.
All right. Thank you, Nate.
I'll be 70 next year.
Well,
had all that stuff, and I'm 32 years clean, cool in the game, man. What else is there?
Thank you.
So,
Thank you, Nate.
Yeah.
Lisa, good to hear from you. Good to see you.
Yes, you too. Sorry, I mean, I've joined in. This is great. I got the link late. I totally agree with what folks have been saying. In my experience, a couple of things came up for me in this discussion is, like, I'm very close with my sisters, and it's like, to me, knowing yourself, but also knowing the people you're working with and meeting them where they are. And I feel like as you build those relationships, that you can dig in with open-ended questions. But once you build that relationship, like, I know right away when I call my younger sister, if she says, okay, like, she'll be vulnerable with me because we built that safety and that trust, but I'll be like, I know where to go with questions, because she does struggle with communicating her feelings. And so I know that. And so I will say, how is your daughter? How is work going? So I know those areas to kind of help her express herself and open up. The other piece, I generally don't like the question when I'm asked it for myself, because I feel like, what's your motive for asking me such a general question? And for me, it's really about, how well do I know you? How, you have to earn the right to sort of, depending on who you are in my life and where you are, right? It's like, that's where I'm going to go with that question. But I do remember, made me laugh actually. I had an assignment. I was living over in England abroad, and culturally it is different. So one of the things people would ask me in the office is, "Are you all right?" And right away that felt more like, oh my gosh, like, do I not look all right? Is there something wrong with my face, my expression, my body language? And that's sort of their like, are you okay? Right. But it comes out sort of it's different. It actually got me more thinking about, how is my body language? Is there something with my tone or my expression? So I just thought I'd throw that out there, because that's there, are you okay? But it comes across very differently when you go, you're all right. I'm like, well, don't I look all right? I mean, yeah, I'm all right. So really good discussion. Thank you.
Thank you, Lisa. Michael?
I like that, Lisa. Thank you. Because I was thinking the same thing about relationships. Like you could tell, like my daughter, she was in college. She started in Boston. She tried it out, and she's back home now. And for a few weeks, that's one of the things I would ask her, like, "Are you okay?" And I knew she wasn't. I just knew it, but she wouldn't express it. And I feel like I wasn't asking her the right questions. And then it got to that, like I started asking her questions, and it got deep into it, and I found out, and she came out with it. She was like, "No, I'm not okay." So I think it's like building those relationships and really being aware, and that curious heart, right? Not just a curious mind, because sometimes we just be curious mind just to know what are we trying to know, right? But I think if we have that curious heart, I'm trying to know this, so then I can help you, right? If you're not okay, then we can help you to be okay, right? And if you are okay, then we can continue to be okay. But yeah, this is a great topic, because
Thank you.
This is all about curiosity.
Thank you, Michael. Michelle says no one really likes Boston. Sandy and I would disagree that we have a daughter, Mary, who's at Emmanuel College, and she's thriving in Boston. So she loves it. Maybe it's just a temporary state, but we'll see. Jimmy, what's up, Jim?
I had another thought with this that goes a little bit somewhere else, but it was really managing my own stuff. And I'm thinking about when I was coaching with a caseload, or when I'm supervising coaches with caseloads and preparing for supervision, or talking about recoveries, and this one's okay, this one's not okay. And so what am I doing? When I say this one's doing okay, it means they're meeting my expectations, right? Their definition of recovery matches up to mine. Is that what I should be doing? Should I be, maybe they're all okay. They're having their own process, and maybe I should just kind of lose that type of analysis. Are they doing okay or not? Anyway, not exactly what we've been talking about, but that's where I went with this. So thank you for that.
Well, it's kind of a precursor to a segue to what's going to be our next question when we get through this. So, well, I like it. Johnny, what are you thinking?
Yeah, I've been thinking quite a lot, actually. It's amazing that just two letters can have so many different interpretations and mean so much to different people. And I've never had a problem saying I'm okay if I'm okay. And I mean, for me, as someone else shared, that it was fine was the one for me. If I said I'm fine, it means I'm not okay. And again, it depends. As I just heard that I think who Lisa just said about what would you say? I know, was it someone else? Was it you? Yeah, actually, maybe it was you when you said about it. It will be okay, because I remember someone, maybe it was a sponsor or somebody I heard once saying, "It might not be okay, but I will be okay." And that really landed with me, because there came a point somewhere along my recovery journey where I realized that something wasn't okay, but I was still okay, because I can compartmentalize now. my life, my relationships, my work, my, friendships, everything. And if something's just happened in one area, it's not going to bring the whole, house down. It's not going to collapse everything. And so I know now that I'm going to be, whatever happens, I'm going to be okay. And that's really important for me. And I think if in a course of a conversation, wherever you ask that question, in a recovery coaching context, if someone says I'm okay, then I think it's a gut feeling whether is there more to be heard or not. By, as someone else said, by asking good questions, we can get to the bottom of actually what's really going on and are they or not. So no, it's been a really interesting discussion. You could probably write a book on the idea of being okay.
Maybe.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you. Carver.
I was thinking that if Art were here, he'd have an acronym.
Probably.
He would give us several runs at what okay really means. But I was thinking about the whole thing, and somebody said, and I don't know who, because for the word that keeps rolling around in my head through the discussion has been fear. So as as my fear, decreases, then my faith increases. So, and the recoveries that I work with, these guys, are in various places in their fear levels, and some in denial and don't know or can't see it. But the reality is, it's like, where am I in my fear? And then being a coach is like, that's where I have to manage my stuff. And where am I on my fear levels? Because if I'm projecting into the unknown future, then I'm off the rails. So the whole thing was, to me, it's all about fear, holding space with these men and women and help them manage that to move them into a place of recovery and faith.
Thank you, Carver. Kevin.
Yeah, please forgive me. I know I'm being a little bit greedy here, but there was a couple of things that happened in this. I like this topic. Number one, how can I put this? I've heard a couple of individuals say that they knew the person. In other words, I think it was the brother that had the daughter that was in college and came home from college, and he said, "Are you okay?" But he already had information that she wasn't, and that because he knew his daughter. Sometimes when I'm saying to a peer that comes in, I say, hey, "Are you okay today?" That's like a greeting. Sometimes when I say that, it's almost like me saying hello. Or I can say, "How you doing today?" And they'll say, "Oh, I'm okay." And so that's what it's a very granular concept. Sometimes when I say, "Are you okay?" I'm not fishing. I'm not fishing for an answer. I'm not asking that because I'm trying to see if they are okay. It's actually, "Hey, you okay today, man?" We shake hands. What's going on with you? I got a new job, or whatever the case may be. But I think if I know my partner, you understand, and I come in the house and my partner made tacos, I know she's not okay with me because she know I don't like tacos. You feel me? So because I know her. But what I'm saying is, I think when we already know the individual,
that's fine.
We ask that, we can tell, okay, I know something is going on here. So you can be saying, "Are you okay?" and you're on a fishing expedition, but you also be saying, "Are you okay?" and it's actually a greeting, because you can say, "Hey, how you doing today? What's happening?" "Everything's okay." And I don't want that okay, because it's such a granular concept, to become information in my head. Do I need to start fishing? Because that's not really what they mean in the recovery game. That's how I wanted to approach that. Thank you.
Thank you, Kevin. All right. So you guys are, I'm fascinated with this discussion too. So here's a question for you. And Jim, you touched upon this too, right? Like an assumption we make. There's always two sides to this coaching dynamic, right? Is the coach themselves, are they Would they consider themselves okay in the given moment? And then here's the question. When or how do you know is a recovery okay in your opinion? How do you respond to that question? So Jimmy, I'll put you on the spot a little bit. You said sometimes when you're working with recoveries, you kind of put them in categories. This person's okay. This person's not okay. So how did you determine that when you think about it a little bit?
Yeah, what I was talking about is my judgment. Are they
Right.
okay? I've come to think about it. What I really should be looking at is, are we engaged in a meaningful relationship? Or, when I'm talking to the person, are we actually having a coach recovery relationship? Are we being honest with each other? Am I actively listening? Am I asking questions? And then is there response and is there engagement? I think that's more the measure of what I should be looking for, rather than outcomes that I think would be beneficial for someone.
Right. So are there like circumstances in a recovery's life or that you would deem not okay that needs to be fixed? And that's for anybody,
Yeah.
or are they all okay? Tell me, how do you determine that? Or do you?
That I think is the question. Do you? Is that within my province?
Rita.
But I'm going to throw it out. I'm going to throw
Yeah.
out this esteemed group.
Yeah, Rita.
I determine that based on what they tell me their recovery goals are. And for me, if they're meeting their goals or they're happy with their progress or they're happy with their recovery, I determine that for that day, they are okay.
Okay. Okay. Khalees, you had your hand raised. You were going to say the same thing?
Well, I mean, who am I to define what okay means to somebody? We've all clearly stated that okay means something different to each of us.
You're okay when you say you are?
Yeah, you are okay when you say you are, and in recovery coaching, we talk about not being attached to the outcome. If they are okay living where they live or doing what they do, if they are okay in their pathway of recovery, who am I to challenge that and say, no, ma'am, that's not okay. That's not my place. My place is to support them to where they want to be. If they're okay with where they get to be, then that's great. That means I did my job.
Okay. Good.
Okay.
Kevin.
Yeah, this is like painting yourself into a corner, almost, are you okay? I'm trying to keep it tight to my coaching. I'm okay. Where I got okay is when I could accept the serenity prayer. When I could accept that serenity prayer, that meant a lot to me. I think when I'm coaching, and I notice with a lot of individuals that I'm coaching in the beginning of the recovery, when they're going after certain capital. In other words, they're going after a job, and they go for a job, and when they don't get it, resume shining, everything shining, they don't get it, and they spin because they felt they was entitled to get the job. But when they get to a point where they can accept a no, that they didn't get the job, and they can keep pushing forward, that's sometimes for me that, okay, they're getting okay. Things are turning out okay, because sometimes in my addiction, when I was coming out, because I was putting work in and I was doing certain things at certain places, I felt people owed me. And when they didn't say yes, that brought a certain reaction. But today I can accept no as it is. You understand? I can go for a job interview, whatever.
Can I push back on you a little bit? Ask you a question?
Yeah.
So if you're working with a recovery, they put the work in, they apply for a job, they don't get it. In your opinion, is that recovery okay or not okay in that moment?
And if they go into the interview and they come out and they say, I didn't get the job,
Right.
And when they didn't get the job in their inner self, or they actually said, thank you. Okay. I think if they can say thank you to a no and accept that no, I think this is opinion, granular concept here.
That's why I'm pushing you.
Yeah. So I just think, and I mean, because what I'm doing, because I do this work off lived experience.
You're avoiding the question though.
But I think they're if they can accept the no,
then they're okay.
I think, in my opinion, I think
and if they can't accept the no, then they have work to do, so they're not okay.
They have work to do, and they can be borderline okay.
Borderline.
They can be. That's the pushback.
You're such a diplomat. I get you. All right. Okay. So I would think back in those kind of situations, it would be up for the person who didn't get the job to tell me, how you feeling about that? What's your response? What's going through your head? Well, how can we work through this? What support can I give you?
What was your question is, because maybe I misunderstood the question. No. Because I thought you said, when do we think the recovery is
I know.
Okay?
Right.
Okay.
It is the question. So
okay.
What I'm trying to get to is it's like we have our own values and opinions and beliefs, because I think I'm always okay. Do I put that onto the recovery? Then I say, don't worry about it. You just lost a job. It's not a big deal. You're okay. I think that could do some harm, right? Because I'm imposing my opinion, my values on what I expect, and I'll use the word and a recovery should have, and we don't like to should on anybody, right? So I have to always explore what that individual is feeling, and then maybe ask some challenging questions one way or another, or support and encourage and say, yeah, or whatever it might be. Khalees. Oh, go ahead, Kevin, if you had
yeah. So when do you, your own question, push back to you? When do you think a recovery is okay? Because that's a question you asked us.
Great question, Kevin. Thank you. When do I think all right, that's a two-part answer for me. That's a great question. Knowing that I believe I'm always okay, I think you're always okay. So that's my bias, right? So I'm going to operate from there, but I'm not going to assume that you feel that same way. So I'm just going to ask you questions about that. What does it mean? How are you feeling? Because I think for me, the fact that I feel like I'm always okay is a very peaceful, serenity producing type place to be. And it's worked wonders for me. And that's really goes into acceptance. So I might share some of that. But I would never just say, you just lost a job. You're okay. Don't worry about it. I mean, there might be a situation where my art or my intuition tells me to say that, but that wouldn't be my go-to thing. It would be, wow, I can see that you're disappointed. I feel that you're really hurt by this. Let's explore this. What did this mean to you? How can we work through it? That kind of thing. Great question, Kevin. Thank you. Khalees.
I keep thinking about in RCA when we talk about what is a crisis.
Right.
And like everybody, what I consider a crisis to be versus what other people consider a crisis to be. People might be like, I am not okay, where I, have my own biases and own stuff where I'm like, dude, you really are fine. Like you're tripping out about nothing, but that is not my place to tell them that, because, they might be in a real emotional state, or really like internally, they maybe this is something really difficult they've gone through for the first time. and it's not my place to put that on them, but that's my opportunity to get curious and stuff, because I really just kept was like, well, when they consider themselves not to be okay, then like to them that might feel really impactful, and I just need to be able to support them and get curious. And what does it look like if you are okay? You know, I wonder.
Well, and the flip side to this whole piece is, you know, we're determining that a lot of coaches that I've worked with over the years will like create a problem when there is none, basically saying that because you're having this behavior, you're not okay. And so you need to address this kind of thing, like whatever it may be. Like, I think in the RCP interview or something, there's a question like somebody smoking cigarettes, right? And they're coughing more. Do you address that? You know, as a coach, I don't, you know, so, or you see they're going to a bar and hanging out with old friends and ordering ginger ale, and what do you do with that? Are you creating a problem, or is there a problem in your site? Do you ask questions about it? Well, you know, all those kinds of things. Kurt.
Yeah, I'm thinking along the lines of is something a concern or not?
Right.
If someone just went through some event and I think this might spell doom for them.
Well, how do you define doom?
Something like a crisis.
Yeah, well, okay.
I would say the first thing is however that makes me feel.
Right. Well, that's a powerful word, that this person is headed to doom if they continue this, whatever that might be.
Remember, I'm from Holland. Might be lost in translation there.
Yeah, okay. Sure.
So, so a heavy, difficult, scary situation. But I think the first thing is important, that I don't, however that makes me feel, if that makes me feel some negative emotions, that I don't pass that on to the recovery. If I don't even know, well, I think I never should, but especially not if I don't even know how they look at the situation. And if they're blindly going into something blissfully unaware, I could still check if they are aware of certain risks, without passing a sense of alarm.
Right.
Just checking.
Kurt, are you a parent by any chance?
No.
So when you become a parent, there's this whole time where you see your kids headed down a road, and do you prevent them from experiencing whatever that pain may be? And those are always and can you, is a whole another question. Can you ever really prevent kids from doing that? So there's always this balance, right? Well, if you want to go this way, I have a concern. You can voice your concern, talk about risks and rewards, and people will choose to do what they're going to do. I mean, how many of us as coaches have had that conversation with someone? You know, this is where I see, in my honest opinion, you continue to do this. This is where I think it might lead. But they do it anyway, you know? And so
as a parent, isn't one of the most important roles is that you learn them, you teach them to not to prevent things from happening, but you teach them to grow and learn.
Well, hopefully that what did you learn from that experience? And I've been a parent for 36 years and I still haven't figured it out, but Sandy and I are doing our best. It always changes anyway. So it's a lot like life. It just keeps going and going and going. Kevin.
Yeah, I think one of the mistakes that I made early when I started coaching is I became the criteria for recovery.
Oh yeah.
When I look at the criteria, because you made a statement, Phil, and the statement you made, if we got a person who is in recovery, you're in recovery when you say you're in recovery. Now, this person goes to a bar with a bunch of friends, but orders alcohol. My criteria is, I don't do that, so you shouldn't.
Right.
That's my criteria. So when I become the criteria for the recovery or for the person I'm coaching, that's very dangerous.
Yeah,
because
well
now you're
said.
not so that's where I'm at with that right there. And that's very important to me when I'm not the criteria for what recovery is, So I just want to share that.
Well, I appreciate you sharing it that way, because I never heard it put in those terms, when I become the criteria for recovery. That's pretty cool, Kevin. Thank you. Love that. Any other thoughts about, when people are okay or not okay, in your opinion? How does that work in your coaching practice? Ed.
Oh, this has been such a great discussion, and I've heard so many wonderful things. And one of the things that I heard recently, Phil, you said you are always in that okay mind spirit, and therefore that's your bias when you're talking with someone. That hit a button for me, because I immediately went to, am I managing my own stuff? Because if I am not in my mind okay, am I placing that expectation on the other person? And am I replying and responding to that person with less than the hopeful response, because I'm not okay? So for me, I guess the question, how do you know if a person in recovery is okay? My first question probably would want to be, put the brakes on, how am I? Where am I? So I am not bringing my stuff and managing myself before I have an expectation of my recovery. So thank you for that biasness, because it's true for me as well.
Yeah, thank you. Dominic.
So I was thinking about that, and I think it's, I have to be very careful as a coach to not making assumptions without questions, right? To think like, is this person okay or not okay? Usually after talking to somebody for a little while, I'm usually pretty good with intuition and knowing if somebody has used or things, and usually I'm always right, but making that assumption without asking questions is kind of like, it's very judgmental, right? Like just assuming that like somebody's not okay. So I like that, like, and you have another saying too, Phil, not just like, you're okay. I forget what your other saying is, but like, oh, it's about trusting people, right? I trust people till they give me a reason not to trust them.
Right.
It's just like the being okay thing, right? Like it's like, I can't just assume that somebody's not okay if I never asked a question, because just like you can't assume that somebody's not doing okay in their recovery just because it doesn't look like ours. So I did like that criteria thing too, right? Like I can't just I model good behavior as far as like, I'm a model of recovery and a face of recovery, but like I am not the only face of recovery, and my recovery is not going to look like everybody else's recovery. And allowing that person their journey and their process without without making that assumption if they're okay or not okay, and just maybe asking the question if I really felt they weren't okay. Maybe showing a little bit of concern and compassion can usually get you there. A little bit of love goes a long way. That's just my belief.
Yeah, and I still think it was Kurt who said early on, being okay, being not okay is needing help. And so if someone says they're not okay, and then I say, well, what help can I give you? What support do you need? So I like that. I like that correlation as well. That Kurt, you said that early on. Laura.
Yeah, I mean, I like what Kevin said just a few moments ago. We can't use ourselves. I can't use myself as prototype for recovery.
Right.
And so, I mean, this is, I love this discussion because it fits so beautifully in that whole under that whole umbrella that you shared, the becoming self-aware and improving that all the time. And I mean, I think that's what these sessions are for largely. But when I'm self-aware, then I'm not in my brain, I'm not in my head. I am present in the room, whatever that may mean, with that other person that I'm coaching. And so I can be aware of their experience too, aware of their body language, aware of their energy, whatever it may be. So I'm grateful that got my awareness improved today a little bit. Thank you.
Thank you. Michael.
I just started thinking too about the okay part. Is like, if you're that type of coach that calls people, right? And then they pick up the phone and you be like, hey, how you doing? And they be like, I'm okay. And you be like, all right, I'll call you next week to see how you doing. And then next week you call, you're like, I'm okay. Oh, okay. But I saw something yesterday too. I was packing up here, and then I went downstairs, and I usually go out to the side door but now that we have the center downstairs, I like to pass through there and just like look in and stuff, because you never know who you might see. And guess what? I seen somebody that I hadn't seen for a long time, that I know him since we was kids. And he's there, and it like, I was like, what is he doing? Like, what is he doing here? So I open the door, I'm curious, and I go, yo, what's up? And his whole demeanor changed. He was like this, and he was there with somebody, his counselor, and she even seen his whole demeanor change, because he was like, oh, and I said, how are you? He goes, I'm good. And I was like, oh man, good to see you. And I gave him a hug, right? And she was like, she stepped back and looked and was like, she noticed, she was like, you work here? And I was like, well, I work upstairs, but I work for C-Car. And she was like, well, now you know somebody. And he was like, I said, you're going to start coming here to volunteer? He goes, yeah, like,
good.
Because I stopped by, he said, yeah, right? But he was on some like, I don't know if I am. But now that he knows somebody and he can relate, right? And that whole difference, demeanors change. And it's like, are you okay with somebody just saying you okay? And then what are you like, what is your okay definition? And it just like, that whole thing dawned on me, like, I'm not okay with just okay. I need to know more. Like, right? So as a coach, it's my responsibility to know more, right? Because I don't want to be that coach to call you and be like, you okay?
No.
All right, then I'll call you next week.
I think the tool in the box is like, that happened organically when Khalees, messaged me or saw me, and I asked you, what do you mean by okay?
Yeah.
So that's a great question for coaches to ask when and get people to think a lot like we've been thinking about it. Ask the people you coach the same damn question. What do you mean by okay?
It's like when you ask your kid, you ask your kid when they come home from school, you be like, how was your day? And they be like, it was good. And you don't ask nothing else. Like, well, what made it good?
I don't ask my kid that anymore, Michael. I don't ask my kid that anymore, because you're going to get that response. So you got to.
So what do you ask him?
I love to ask, tell me what was great about your day. And you know what?
Beautiful.
If I ask my kid what could have been better, y'all.
What a question.
Come up with the kitchen lady could have cooked the meat a little bit longer.
I can't even imagine.
Everything.
All right. Okay, we got a couple minutes left. 1 minute. Kevin, wrap us up.
Yeah, and I wanted to thank Michael for that, because I'm one of them coaches. I am one of them coaches that I make a call, my guy or person, individual says, I say, how you doing, man? I'm okay. Everything's going right. Yeah, cool. All right. Hey, I'll call you, because I'm following up with them, and then I'll hang up and I'll do that. And so that was one of the things that I was writing down as we was doing this. Are we on when we ask someone, are they okay? Do we go on a fishing expedition? Do we do that? Is that part of the coaching? When the person says, hey, I'm okay, should there always be a follow-up behind that? Define that, qualify your okay to me.
Right. And I think that a lot of times that would be how well you know the person, and it's also your intuition, your art. But I think we could do a better job of just not accepting that always, and maybe just asking a follow-up question would be not a bad practice, but again, it's your art and your intuition of coaching. So yeah, I'm surprised how one, like Johnny, I think you were talking about how 2 letters can really like make a big difference and have a 90-minute conversation about that. So think about that. I enjoyed our conversation very much. And thank you all for your participation. You're what make the webinar. I really learned a lot today. Appreciate each and every one of you. And I hope you have a sparkling rest of your day. Take care, everybody.